We are back with Patrick Olson, and we are talking about how you need to look out for any kind of signs when you are trying to buy a car that might have been impacted by any type of storm and hurricane efforts that have happened. So we want to go back to this question. What kind of inspections or reports does Carfax offer that can help reveal storm-related issues?
So Carfax, we've got access to literally billions of records. And so what we will very often do, and what we've done in the case of Hurricanes Beryl and Debbie and now Helene, and we're working on Milton, is we look at the areas that state and federal officials declare as disaster areas, and we watch for cars that are registered there. Very often in a case where a car gets flooded out, someone will take it to their insurance company. The insurance company will mark it as totaled or flooded. And once that happens in, say, like a state like Florida, that information stays with that car. We track it at Carfax using the vehicle identification number. So it may change owners 3 or 4 times more in its lifetime, but we can tell you if you're considering a used car at any point in its life, whether it's been tagged as having that flooded title on it. So that even if some people will move cars from state to state to state, and the new title will not include that information, but Carfax will still have it because it's tied to the vehicle identification number. So it's not tied to the owner, it's tied to the vehicle. And that's how we know about cars that have been in flooded areas.
And continuing on with this point, so Carfax does have data on whether the vehicle was registered or reported in areas affected by the recent storms, to your point.
Absolutely. So we look at those areas that federal and state officials have declared as disaster areas. And then, we have data scientists who calculate, based on our years of doing this, what percentage of cars might have been damaged in that storm. And we extrapolate from that what our estimates are. And as I said, from Helene, we think it's, potentially as many as 23,000 vehicles just in North Carolina alone.
Can you kind of explain the exact process to find out if the vehicle underwent repairs due to the storm damage? Can talk about what folks can do at home?
Sure. One thing I would say is the majority of cars that are flood damaged wind up being taken off the market entirely. Now, that being said, some cars only have some level of flooding. If a car has been totally submerged, even if only for a short while, it's a car you want to avoid, because even if there's no immediate signs of damage, as I mentioned earlier, these cars are rotting from the inside out. That water could have damaged the electrical systems. And when in doing so, it could make systems such as your automatic braking, your blind spot warning, your rear cross traffic alert, they may not work at all, or they may not work when you need them to work. They may also short out airbags in your car. So any car that has been identified as being submerged for a long time, people should avoid. All that being said, we also track from tens of thousands of service shops around the country when repairs are done. And I would say it's wise for anyone buying a used car to ask the seller to provide you with a vehicle history report, because we can show you the maintenance history of that car through its whole lifetime, not just during the storm, but in the years before that too.
And what could happen to the car, God forbid you, if you were in a car that has been impacted by the storm and you never got it inspected, any of those things?
Absolutely. And this is a real concern for people, because in most states, and I believe North Carolina is one of these states, when you buy a car, unless you get a written warranty from the seller, you are buying that car as is. And so if it develops problems down the road due to that flooding, you bought it the way it was, and there is really no recourse. If a consumer thinks there may have been fraud involved, they can go to the attorney general in the state. But in most cases, the onus is on the buyer to make sure that they knew what was wrong with the car when it was sold. And so I would say it's another reason why any car that there are signs or suspicions that it was underwater is a car I would avoid.
Yeah. Talk about what the inspection process looks like.
For mechanics, they're looking for things like, are there brittle wires in the dash that show there's been a bad interaction between water and the electrical system? They're also looking to check out the engine to make sure there aren't signs that water got in there. Water and oil and gasoline do not mix very well in terms of a long-lasting engine. So they will take, kind of a fine-tooth comb over the entirety of the car. When they're looking at any used car, even one that you don't worry about flood damage with, the beauty is that they can tell you what it would cost to make that car in good shape again. And as a consumer, you can use that to your advantage. For example, I bought a used car once and I took it to my mechanic. He said, it needs about $600 worth of work. So I went to the seller and I said, hey, if you get this work done, I'll pay your asking price for the car. They did, and I did. And so it can work out to your advantage to, spend that $100 in the inspections. It can save you thousands of dollars down the road.
Yeah, and there's that saying, you'd rather be safe than sorry, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's pause here and let's toss it over to weather with Claire. A little chilly out there.